Okay, so March was a good month reading wise for me, although I did plan on reading more books than I ended up reading. Unfortunately, I fell ill for most of the month, so I was only able to read 8 months, which is not bad, which is definitely a good reading month. I read a couple of series, I read some books in series, and I read a couple of standalones. But all in all, it was a pretty good month. At least the books I read, I really enjoyed, at least most of them. Hello everybody, Nora back again. So I'll just go straight to my wrap up. The first book I read this month is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now this book easily makes it to my top best books of the year and the top favorite books ever. Evelyn Hugo is going to be one of my top favorite characters of all time. I love her. She's devious and brilliant and beautiful and manipulative and loyal and loving and focused on getting what she wants. She's very driven, very opportunistic. She embodies the best and the worst of Slytherin values, and I just love that about her because she's the very epitome of what I believe human beings are. We are flawed, we have our strengths, we also have our weaknesses, and she has so much to teach. Like, Evelyn helped me to see that the parts of me that a lot of people could not stand and did not like, the parts of me that are too loud, too passionate, too driven, too brash, too intense, those parts of me that a lot of people cannot stand all make me me, and without them I lose bits of myself and I would not really become the very best of who I can be. This book helped me to realize that there is nothing wrong for women to want more, that there is absolutely nothing wrong in you being so driven and going after what you want, because the world is not going to give it to you. The world is, if anything, is going to push and ensure that they shortchange you, and it is up to you to push and ensure that you get the very best for yourself. It's up to you to look out for yourself, and it's also up to you to stay loyal and look out for the best of those that you consider friends and even family. I loved this book. I love this book. I saw myself in the pages. I saw the potential of who I might possibly be, and I did not regret it because she's an icon. And I know, like, not a lot of people might necessarily like her because she's so flawed, but I do think that even when it is that you cannot stand her because she represents the worst of what it is to be human, and you love her because she also represents the best of what it is to be human. I also love the bisexual rep because, yes, spoiler alert, Evelyn Hugo is bisexual and she's confident about it. She has no regret. She makes no apologies for loving men, for loving women, for loving one woman in particular. Like, this is a fantastic book. It is a love story of a woman who loves both men and women, but also a love story of a woman who loves herself, who sees herself. You know, she's the very definition of, you know, there's a part in Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones when Tyrion Lannister tells Jon Snow that recognize who you are, own it, wear it like armor, and it shall never be used against you. And that is exactly what Evelyn Hugo does in this book, and it was such a beauty to read. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I gave it 5 beautiful, amazing stars. I wish I could give it more. I loved Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing in this book. It was simple, it was crisp, it was clear. She painted such vivid imagery as to the old Hollywood glamour. Like, I was transported to the 50s and the 60s, and I could just picture it. Like, I cannot say it well enough. I love this book. This book easily pushed Taylor Jenkins Reid to one of my favorite authors. I cannot wait to get more of her books and read them and fall in love with them as I have the amazing woman in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But if you have not read this book, 10 over 10 will recommend it. It is adult. It's an adult contemporary, but you would not regret it. It's a beautiful book. I just realized that I just went all about why I love this book and I forgot to state what this book is about. This book is about Evelyn Hugo. She's an aging Hollywood star, and when I say star, I mean Evelyn Hugo defines that word. Even in her 80s, she's still gorgeous, she's still beautiful, she still has that charisma of a star. And the story starts when Monique, a news reporter, gets called into her boss's office and is informed that she gets to do an interview of a lifetime. She gets to do a sit down and a written piece on Evelyn Hugo, who is donating the best clothing of her career to a charity for cancer in support and honor of her daughter who died of cancer. And Monique, of course, jumps at this, because, which is in itself, she's surprised as to why she gets that request, because Evelyn's people are specific in insisting that if it's not Monique that handles that interview, and please know that Monique is just starting not in the business, but at a news outlet she works for, and she was not the first or the second or even the third choice of her editor. But Evelyn's people do specifically state that if it's not Monique, then the interview is not going to happen. So she gets this chance of a lifetime to interview this amazing, brilliant, fantastic star, and she takes it, and that's just basically it. She writes, it's an autobiography of Evelyn Hugo that is told via her telling a life story to Monique in order for Monique to write it. And while you're listening and while you're paying attention, while you're engrossed in it, at the back of your mind you keep wondering, why Monique? And you eventually do find out at the end of the book. Although, not gonna lie, I kind of guessed it when I was like, she's probably this, and I was right. But I still enjoyed the reveal all the same. So the next book I picked up in March was Labyrinth Lost by Zorodai Cordova. Now, so this book is basically all about Alejandra, or Alex as she's called by her family and friends, who was born a Bruja into a Bruja family, and at the start of the book, the rest of her family, they've come into their own powers. Her elder sister Lula has healing powers and is very strong and very gorgeous, and younger sister Rose is able to commune with other spirits, and her mother is also pretty strong, but their father has not been around, and she's the only one who seemingly in the entire family does not have any powers. So while everybody has been trying to pray and hope that her powers come to her, what they don't know is that Alex has been hiding a very huge secret. She does have powers. In fact, she's considered one of the most powerful Brujas. She's an Ecantrix, and because she does not like her power, because her power is rooted in guilt as to the circumstances that led to her father leaving the family, she's been suppressing her powers all this while. And when it's her death day, when she comes into her own at 16, she's meant to receive the blessings from everybody in her family, both living and dead, in order to, you know, bless her powers and bless her powers. And when her family discovers that she's an Ecantrix, they're happy, because it's rare for a Bruja to be an Ecantrix. They're like the most powerful of the most powerful, and the closest to the Dios, who are gods. And when they're all planning for her death day, Alex decides that she doesn't want that power, so she makes a canto, which is a spell, in order to take away her powers, except for the fact that it backfires, and instead all her entire family is moved to Los Lagos. And that's where basically this book is about. This book is basically about her trying to get her family back, and on that journey discovering herself and accepting her abilities and who she is. Now, this book, the premise sounds fantastic. The beginning, I was hooked, and then it just sort of fell apart. Now, the book is it's like an amalgamation of different stories, you know. So I have Alice in Wonderland vibes, in the sense that she does fall through a hole in a tree into another world. I also get Pan's Labyrinth, that's Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth vibes, in the sense that it's dark fantasy. She has certain quests she has to fulfill in order to, you know, get the prize. I also get a bit of Dante's Inferno, in that Los Lagos is more purgatory than it is heaven or hell. And I also get a bit of Orpheus's tale in Greek mythology, in that she, like Orpheus, is trying to get the soul of our loved ones back from the underworld, except for the fact that our own loved ones consist of both the living and the dead. Now, how does this book that is made up of all these other stories that I love individually on their own, not how does it not live up to my expectations? I guess it's in the characterization. Now, I gave this book a 2.5 stars because it's the characters. I enjoyed reading about Alex. Alex is your typical teenager. She's angry, she's angsty, but at the same time she's so uncertain, and I related so much with her. I still do. It's that fear of knowing that you have more power than you can handle and being terrified of everything going wrong, except for the fact that in her terror and in trying to manage that, everything does go wrong. Like, I loved that. I love that. I love the family dynamics. I love the fact that they were always with each other. My favorite of the sisters was Rose, the younger sister, because Lula was a bit self-absorbed, and like she just annoyed me most times. She really acted like a big sister until later in the book, which I enjoyed. I also appreciated the fact that this book is so effortlessly diverse, like effortlessly diverse. Alex's family are Latinx, Nova is also Latinx, Rishi is Hindu, and I loved seeing that casual diversity. Was like every day, there was no stress. I love the fact that this book is rich and steeped in so much mythology. It's beautiful. When they get transported to Los Lagos, like that world is so vivid and so gorgeous. I also especially appreciated the fact that there were fae in this book, like Agosto. I could read a book about Agosto. Like, you all know how much I love me my fae. I was beyond thrilled when that part popped up. Now, my problem with the book is in threefold. I do believe that it was a conundrum. I do believe that the book contradicted itself in the sense that it was so rushed, and at the same time it dragged, like in the middle. I started this book at the beginning of the month. I got so bored. Once after the first 100 pages, I got very bored, so I dropped it, and then I picked it up at the end of the month. So then I finished it. Now, it was so rushed. The stakes were they were not very high stakes. I did not believe that any of the characters were truly in any danger. I did not have that shortness of breath that, oh my god, things are going to go wrong. Somewhere at the back of my mind, it did not have any urgency. I just believed that everything was going to work out well, and I was right. The villain was very underdeveloped. Zara was we did not have any motivation. She was just evil for being evil's sake. She was very cookie cutter, one note type villain, no depth, nothing. I was very bored with her character. Like, this is somebody that is portrayed as being oh so powerful, and she's defeated by Alex, but I really did not feel that the defeat was well earned. Like, maybe it's because, like I said, it was both slow paced and also it went very fast. It was just weird, and there were a lot of contrived resolutions in the book. Like, all of a sudden, the thing with Nova at the end, I was just like, okay, that was unexpected, and at the same time the payoff, and I was just confused, because I'm like, okay, what about the other people? What about the other brujos and brujas? Like, what about them? How easy it is to make absolution? Like, it was just and then, okay, great, this book has bisexual rep. Alex is bisexual, and I appreciated the fact that this time around it was her having to choose between a boy and a girl. Now, my problem is the fact that, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, now my problem is the fact that our relationship with Rishi, who we are made to feel is the person she's in love with, was not very developed. It was very underdeveloped. The chemistry was practically non-existent, and like I said, their relationship was very underdeveloped. Rishi as a character was very underdeveloped. Zoraida spent so much time prepping up and boosting up Alex's relationship with Nova, that by the time we get to Rishi and then we were meant to have time to develop that relationship, it just falls apart pretty quickly. It was sad, because I thought it did it a disservice. I really was looking forward to that earth of romance, and it was so disappointing. But I did enjoy the parts of it that I enjoyed. Like I said, the world building, I love the world building, I love the cantos, I love the mythology. I also love the fact that Alex was real into being like a teenager, and I also, like I said, I love the diversity of the book. You know what, now that I think about it, I I'm changing my rating. I will give this a 3-star, a 3-star out of 5. I'm just disappointed because I expected more and I felt like it could have been better. Next, I read the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and that is Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. Now, this is a middle book that I enjoyed because a lot of middle books, which is something I said also in my wrap-up for February when I was talking about Wicked King, and that is something that both Holly Black and Laini Taylor have done well, at least in their individual their respective series. A lot of middle books for me are always fillers. Like, a lot of things drag, nothing really happens. You can always tell that the writer just writes them in order to just hang, you know, just tie things over until everything is resolved in the third book. But that was not the case for Days of Blood and Starlight. So many things happened. We were introduced to so many more new characters we actually were invested in, characters we love. I love the fact that, you know, the villains in this book were well thought out. Okay, they had quite a lot of depth, from Thiago, who fucking asshole, from Thiago to Jael, like even Joram. I love the fact that every single time you thought that you knew what was going to happen, Laini Taylor found a way to surprise you. Now, what is Days of Blood and Starlight about? We pick up from Daughter of Smoke and Bone. Carol's memories have returned. She's rightfully pissed at Akiva, as we all are, and Akiva once again tries to make things right, and this time around we hope he's able to pull it off. He's coming into terms with his powers. He's discovering more about himself that he never knew. Azahel and Lyra's also eventually come around. Like, I just love the fact that you could see this character's growth and you could see how they progress. I love the fact that Carol is not just your do-good type heroine. Like, she's very flawed. She makes so much mistakes. She makes bad decisions, but their decisions you understand because you can see where she's coming from. You know what led her to make that stand, and you understand and you empathize with her. She's just amazing, and she's beautiful, and she's still strong. But for so long in this book, she was just mired in guilt and rage and pain, and it's just believable. And I love the fact, see, there are so many books when the main love interest fucks up. In this case, Akiva, when the love interest fucks up, there are so many other books where things are resolved so quickly and you can tell that you're like, wait, seriously? All that bullshit he did, you've forgiven him in like 2 seconds. No, this book, like, you can tell that Akiva is going to have to work every inch to gain back Carol's love, and the payoff, you know, the payoff in the third book is going to be great. And speaking of the third book, I cannot wait to start it, because the way this book ended, like, wow. I do not want to spoil anything, because I repeat, this is a book you definitely want to enter blind, not knowing what it's about. But as always, Laini Taylor's writing is lyrical and beautiful. Our world building is, as always, gorgeous and perfection. Our characters are human and flawed and beautiful and strong. And I love the fact that throughout this entire book, this book is all about making restitutions, trying to fix a wrong committed, and also always having hope. And this book, unlike the first book, like Daughter of Smoke and Bone, you heard mention of war. This book helps you to see that war is nasty business, that no side is ever truly good, that each side always make the most terrible mistakes, and that the people that you really demonize, the people that you really think of demons just because of how they appear, might just contain the softest, good, most empathetic souls possible. Beautiful. I love this book. 10 over 10 will recommend. I also gave this a 5-star. Like I said, I am looking forward to the third book in the trilogy, and I have faith that Laini Taylor is going to wrap things up and make me happy, or at least I hope she does, because she broke my heart in this book. She broke my heart, and I still have not recovered from the loss. Next, I read these 4 books, which are all, you know, so far the books that have been released in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Now, I do have a review of the series up, where I spent almost an hour talking about the book. I will link it up right over here. You can go check it out. But I'll just give like my brief thoughts and ratings about the book. which is technically what the wrap-up is about anyway. So the very first book in the series I read was A Court of Thorns and Roses, all by Sarah J. Maas. This is meant to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, although I'm going to be honest, I use that word loosely because it's not really a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like, it started, and I'm going to confess, Beauty and the Beast is not my favorite fairy tale. I am sorry, I found it slightly boring. It was beautiful, I love the songs, I love Belle, but the story in itself I did find kind of boring, even though I do appreciate the whole looking beyond the beast outside and seeing the person within. Like, I love the themes, I love the message of that fairy tale. I just found the fairy tale very boring, and I think that that probably also translated to this book, because A Court of Thorns and Roses, I'm just repeating myself, but I found this book very boring. I found the main love interest, that's Tamlin, very bland. He had personality, was just very boring, and he also had anger issues, which set off a lot of red flags for me. Like I said, this is a very loose Beauty and the Beast retelling, because Tamlin really can't shift to his human form. It's just that he always has a mask on, but Feyre could still tell that he was pretty. Now, what is this book about? This book is all about Feyre, a human girl who is a huntress whose family is starving, and she's been going out to hunt and take care of her family for years, ever since they fell into ruin because of her father's bad financial and business decisions. Now, one day she goes into the woods, she sees a wolf, she kills the wolf, and you have to understand, so she kills the wolf believing and hoping that he's a member of the Fae, and then she skins the wolf and sells the pelt for gold and stuff to take care of her family, because like I said, they're starving. It makes perfect sense. By the time she gets home, and a couple of days after, another wolf-like creature shows up and is come to collect payment, because the wolf she killed is a member of the Fae, and there is an agreement with Prythian being the Fae lands, whereby any human that kills a Fae is taken into Prythian forever, like their life is forfeit. And so he drags her into this mythical Fae land, he holds her hostage, and slowly over time, through seeing who he is and all of that, she ends up falling in love with him, and then she finds out that there's a spell that only she can break. And like I said, it's a very loose Beauty and the Beast retelling, but like I also said, I found it very boring. Tamlin was just, it was cute, like that's what he had going for him. He was cute, he was a high lord, he did take care of our family, but that's just basically it. I did not find him interesting. I found other characters more interesting than him. I found Lucian more interesting. I found Alice more interesting. I found Feyre herself more interesting. I found her sister Nesta, who we only got a brief glimpse of at the beginning and close to the end of this book, more interesting. I found Rhysand definitely more interesting. I think the only person I did not find more interesting than Tamlin was probably Amarantha, because Amarantha, let's go to her, she was a one-note villain. She had no motivation, she had no depth. Although, to be fair though, I did understand her. Okay, fine, do you know what, prior to her becoming the main villain, when they talk about the whole thing about the human and Fae war and her sister, I understood that motivation. At least I got that part, but I still found that very boring and very one note, very trite. I did not find her a very engaging villain, to be honest, and I was just thankful when the book was over, because it was a drag. It took me forever and a day to finish this book. I gave it a 2.5 stars because of that, and yeah, not my favorite of the series. Definitely not my favorite of the series. While I was suffering through it, my friends kept telling me that I should just hang in there, that by the time I get to A Court of Mist and Fury, it would be all the better for it, and I would see the payoff. And I did, because the next book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury. I finished this book in 2 days. I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I love the fact that this book basically, okay, let me just say what it's about real quick. The book continues or picks up from where A Court of Thorns and Roses stopped. Now, Feyre is now a Fae. She's saved Prythian. She's considered their curse breaker and all of that. And now you expect her to have a happy ever after with Tamlin, who she loves, except for the fact that things do not really go as well as she expects, because Feyre is dealing with PTSD. She's dealing with all this emotion. She's dealing with all the guilt she feels. But at the same time, she's also dealing with newly discovered powers that she gets as a result of what happens at the end of ACOTAR. And while while she's dealing with all of this, Tamlin, who is also dealing with his own trauma at the book, does not really understand what is going on with Feyre, and instead he responds by being overprotective. We could see slight instances of that in ACOTAR, but things are ratcheted up in this book also because I would also say because of what is dealt with and all the things that happened at the end of ACOTAR. But he's overprotective. He's overprotective to the part that it becomes stifling, and then he does not understand just how damaging it is being to Feyre, who before she met him all her life has been a protector, has been a fighter, has been a huntress, and he keeps her caged. He's expecting her to just sit down and be pretty and, you know, be the lady of the Spring Court, which is not what because she wants to give back. That is not who she is. And I guess for that moment he forgets who he fell in love with and was trying to make her into who he expected her to be, and that does not happen. And all through this, while she's dealing with all this suppression, Rhysand comes because she did have an agreement / contract with him at the end of ACOTAR. He comes to collect, and somewhere in the book, Tamlin makes a very, very, very disastrous choice that has Feyre leaving, and she goes with Rhysand, and it is with Rhysand that she comes into her own, that she discovers her power, that she discovers her strength, that she discovers family and friends and people who treat her as an equal. And I enjoy that. The reason why I really, really love this book is because it does not have a villain, like this bad person that they have to defeat. No, the villain in this book is Feyre's insecurities, is Feyre's doubts, is Feyre's sense of worth. The hero of this book is Feyre. Is Feyre coming into her own. Is Feyre discovering family and friends, people that have her back. Is Feyre discovering that she is more than enough and she does not need to bow or bend to suit anybody. And watching that trajectory, seeing that growth, makes me so happy and makes me cry so hard, because nothing makes me happier like seeing abused women or abused folk eventually discover their power, eventually discover not only the fact that they are adequate, they are more than enough, that they have their own strength and they can fight back, but also discovering that they are wanted and they are loved. And I really enjoyed that part. I loved this book. I really did. And also Rhysand made this book more than worth it for me. I appreciate love interests that do not hold the people they are in love with back. I appreciate love interests that are willing to fight and push, that encourage their SOs to be the best versions of themselves, and that is what Rhysand does in this book, and that is the reason why I would always love him. I also love Azriel and Cassian and Nesta, and like the ending of this book, this ending killed me. I wanted to know what happened next. As expected, I gave this a 5 stars, like 5 solid, more than worth it stars. Now, after A Court of Mist and Fury, I read A Court of Wings and Ruin. Now, I know, like, I'll stay straight out that I gave this book, and I also gave this book 5 stars. I recognize the fact that, oh my god, it is not as good as Akomath. Yes, Akomath is in a league of its own as far as this series is concerned, but I did still enjoy it because I love the fact that we went further into the relationship in this book. I loved seeing how they bonded. I loved how it was that they had each other's back. I also love the fact that this book was all about true acceptance, accepting both the best part of your character and the worst part of your character, and knowing that both sides of who you are make you you, and none is better than the other, none is worse than the other. We have to be able to live with our mistakes and the horrors we are capable of, just as we want to live with the amount of love and loyalty and care we can exude. I loved that. I loved also seeing Feyre really come into our own with regards to our abilities. Like in Akomath, we see her start to train and slowly, you know, get control of it, but in Aquawar, everything is in full effect. We see her using all the powers of the courts and making each one of them her own. Like there's a part in the book where the Eye Lords talk about, you know, how she took stuff from them, and she said, no, they are mine. Yes, I took some. Yes, yes, you gifted them to me, but they are now mine. I have made them mine, and I just love that, because that is a long distance from the Feyre we meet in A Court of Thorns and Roses. The Feyre in A Court of Wings and Ruin is truly the Eye Lady of the Night Court, and I loved seeing that depiction. Now, what was A Court of Wings and Ruin about? War is coming. King of Ibern has finally made his move, and it is up to everybody in Privia to come together in order to fight back. And it is not going to be an easy battle, because the King of Ibern has quite a lot of soldiers and has also paired up with the human queens. And to make matters worse, there are also disgruntled Fae who have been waiting and snapping at their leash due to the agreement the Fae had with the humans in order to let the humans go and give them their own lands. And you're dealing with all this. You're dealing with the war, you're dealing with Feyre coming into her own, you're dealing with all the nonsense that happened with Tamlin, and Tamlin still being, you know, a bitch. So like I enjoyed the Court of Wings and Ruin. Yes, I know that it had plot holes the size of the Pacific. I know that there were a lot of easy resolutions that popped up in this book, but I still enjoyed it. I still loved it. The people, I'm telling you, the people. I also love the fact that we also went more into the backstories of each one of the characters and each one of my loves, you know, from Cassian to Azriel to Rhysand to Feyre to Morrigan to Amren, even Nesta and Elaine and even Lucien. Like, we understood more of their backstory and I enjoyed it. I really did. Now, after A Court of Wings and Ruin, I read A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the novella. This is meant to just be the novella that stands in between A Court of Wings and Ruin and then the next set of the ACOTAR series, which, yes, we did get a sneak peek at the end of this book, would be Nesta and Cassian's story, and I cannot wait. So I gave A Court of Frost and Starlight 2.5 stars. I felt it read a bit more like fan fiction. I felt that I don't know, man. I still felt that even if it was that she was going to sell this book, she should not have sold it for $18. Like, I'm happy that I did not pay full price. I think I paid like a third of the price for this, but I'm definitely happy I did not pay full price. I would have been more offended if I had. I think it would have been cool if it was just an ebook and like just maybe she sold it for like 99 cents or $1.99, but who am I? I'm not the one that wrote it. I'm not the publishers. I'm certain she's trying to make her money. But like I said, it read, what I did have a problem with is that it read a lot like fan fiction, and of course nothing really happened. Like, I did enjoy the fact that A Court of Frost and Starlight showed us that after a war ends, things are not all rosy. You can tell that each one of the characters are dealing with PTSD. They're each dealing with the different things and decisions and actions that they had to take during the war or because of the war. You know, from Cassian to Azriel to Morrigan to Rhysand to Feyre, even Nesta, like they are all dealing with the effects of war and what it means. And I enjoyed seeing that in between, you know, them preparing, they are trying to find normalcy. And I know that that is technically what happens, especially in quite a lot of books that deal with war that I have read. You know, after such a horrifying event happens, you try to find normalcy, you try to rebuild, even as you are still dealing with all the ghosts that come with the war. And I enjoyed seeing that in this book. I also appreciated the fact that we were in different people's heads. Like, sure, I enjoyed being in Feyre's head, you know, but I did enjoy the fact that, you know, we got to be in Rhysand's head, we got to be in Cassian's head, we got to be in Morrigan's head, we eventually even got to be in Nesta's head, like in the sneak peek at the end of the book. I really, really love that. I know that a lot of people had a problem with the part in this book, you know, where Rhysand confronts Tamlin, and you know, they're like, oh my god, it seems like Sarah just did a full 180, and like, it's just, I find it funny though, because ACOTAR, ACOMAF, and ACOWAR were told from Feyre's perspective. And if you understand the fact that Feyre is an abused person, right, and she for a while did love Tamlin, so of course she's still going to look at Tamlin with those eyes. Eventually she's going to forgive him. Eventually she might not even necessarily forgive him, but think of him a little bit more kindly. She's hurt and she's heartbroken, but she does not feel the rage yet, you know. And so the way in which she pictures Tamlin, like in ACOTAR, she's looking at him from the perspective of, because remember, she has not really experienced love, you know. She didn't get that from her father, she didn't get that from her sisters. Sure, Elaine loved her, but it's not the type of love of, oh, she's the all-consuming, you're the only one I see type love. Now she gets that from Tamlin, so of course she's going to look over some of the actions he does take in Akotar, and then by Akoma she starts to, it becomes worse, so she has no choice but to see it, which is why she ends up making the decision she does eventually make. And Akowa, she's initially angry, and then eventually, you know, because he comes to the rescue, she slowly starts to think of him in a more positive light, but she feels a bit guilty because she did love him at a point. But, and all this is leading to my point. See, the perspective we get in Akofas was Rhysand's perspective. Rhysand does not love Tamlin. Rhysand does not give a shit about Tamlin. As far as he's concerned, Tamlin is the man who almost wrecked and destroyed his best friend and the love of his life. So of course he's going to be angry. No offense, but if it is that you have ever been if it is that you've ever known someone that was in an abusive relationship, someone close to you, someone you really love, and then you've always been on the outside looking in and seeing them deal with all this shit, and they eventually get the chance and walk away, you would still retain that anger and rage towards the person, towards the abuser. It's expected. So that was actually why I understood her writing that part. If it was that she had Rhysand from the very beginning, all forgiving and stuff of Tamlin, that would not have been believable for me. But how it was, like how it took place in Akofas, I found that very believable. So yes, like I said, I gave this a 2.5 star. It was small, it was like, it read like fan fiction. I am still of the opinion that Sarah J. Maas probably held like some fan fiction writing competition, whereby she said, okay, do you know what, fanfic writers, one of you will get the chance to write a book in my world. It's going to be written, you're going to, of course, my name is going to be attached to it so that it sells, but we're going to split the profit like 60-40, like 60, you get 60% because you're the one that did the writing, I'll get 40% because you're using my name, and my publishers will be happy. Like, that is my story, I'm sticking with it. But I cannot wait for the rest of the book in the series. And then the last book I read this month is this gem, the love of my life, Nevernight by J. Christoph. This book, I love this book. I worship at the feet of J. Christoph. Mia Kover is the love of my life. I would give my soul for her. Not just my heart, my soul, the very essence of who I am. Like, I love this book. Love this book. Okay, so what is this book about? Now, Nevernight is a story of Mia Kover, a girl with vengeance in her heart, who basically, whose powers is rooted in shadows and the dark, who has this not really a cat made up of shadows called Mr. Kindly, and who decides to train at an elite institute for assassins in order to be able to take a vengeance on the people that destroyed our family. Like, I wish somebody had told me that this book had 1, an assassin, 2, a talking snacking cat, 3, a quest for vengeance. Like, if someone had told me that that was all was in Nevernight, plus writing that that was believable, and a lead character who is grey as fuck, who is angry as fuck, who is powerful as fuck, and who is bisexual as fuck. Like, if someone had told me that that was what was in Nevernight, I would have read this book ages ago because I loved it. Like, the world building. Like, if someone had also told me that this book was rich in footnotes, I would have jumped on it, because yes, I am a big ass geek. I love footnotes. Footnotes make me happy, and I love the fact, like, a lot of my tabs are orange, and orange, I tab orange for world building. Like, the amount of world building, especially because they take place in the footnotes, it just makes me happy. The footnotes were funny and quirky, and also rich in rich in details of the world, the mythology, the history. Like, I really loved every moment of it. Like I said, I love the world building, the writing. Yes, it does have a pretty slow start. Like, before she gets into the institute, the Red Church, I mean, before she gets into the Red Church, like, things are a bit slow. You're like, okay, what's happening? She meets Drake, Mr. Kindly. You're okay, what's happening? And then she enters the Red Church, and that is where the story flies. The story flies. I loved this book. I love this book. And the ending, the twists and turns, every single time you think that you understood what is happening, you think that, oh, you get it, J. Christoph comes and it's like he yanks that rug from underneath your feet, and you're like, no, you have no idea what I'm talking about. This is what is happening. And then when you get to the end, and Jay retraces the steps, so you understand all that happened and why it happened and who exactly is responsible and what the plan is. That betrayal was so sweet, so heartbreaking. I felt Mia's rage. Oh God, fuck them. I cannot wait to start God's Grave. I am so happy that I get to start God's Grave so soon, because this book ruined me. This book ruined me. I repeat. I loved this. I loved the relationship Mia had with the other assassins. I love the romance. I love the sex. Like, let's just state that this is definitely a new adult novel. I would not consider Nevernight a young adult novel because of, like I said, the violence, the sex, and even the way J. Christoph wrote it. It strikes me more as an NA book than it is a YA. You can put your thoughts down in the comments below if you actually believe that Nevernight is under YA, or if you agree with me that it's new adult, because I definitely think that it's new adult. But like I said, I love this book. The villain in this book, like, you have the almighty villain, that's the people that Mia wants to kill, and you understand why she wants to kill them. But you also have like little villains and people that you love and hate. Like, this book just keeps changing shit on you. 1 minute you're like, that character is awful, I hope they die a long, slow and painful death, and newsflash, some of them do, and like beautiful. Of course the death will not be easy and simple in a school that teaches people, like in a school that teaches its students how to assassinate people. But just saying. But anyway, like, you have friends turn to foe turn to friends. Like, it just, I love this book. I love every moment of it. Like, it is more than worth it. I cannot wait to reread it. I'm going to read God's Grave, and you can bet your ass I'm going to reread both books again before Dark Dawn comes out, because it is, this book is perfection. 5 over 5 fucking stars. Like, definitely one of my best books of the year. Like, J. Christoph owns my soul. And that is my wrap up for the month. Let me know if you've read any of these books I have read, if you agree with any of my thoughts, or if you disagree, whatever the case may be. Leave it down in the comments down below. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I will see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.